Hello, I'm meteorologist Ryan Leach, and this is the winter weather briefing for Sunday, December 16th, 2018. To start off, just show the matrix up front with some of our expected conditions, and I'd kind of like to set a baseline here. Green doesn't necessarily mean dry roads and easy driving. It's basically just means it's something I expect that will be a pretty minor impact for your daily or normal operations on the roads. So that means that the daily melt and freeze, or if there's any showers, there may be some ice and things like that at night or in the morning, or some wet roads. But it's not something that you shouldn't be able to handle too quickly. Trying to keep the yellow and the orange reserved for some of the higher impact periods in the forecast coming up. And with that, we have a higher impact period on Tuesday and Wednesday with an atmospheric river event, and there's a lot of little details with that are going to matter. And I'll get into that in just a minute. Then we'll have a little bit of a break on Thursday, and there's some potential for impacts again on Friday with another cold front system coming through. So I mentioned the Tuesday and Wednesday system was going to be an atmospheric river type event. Without getting into too much detail on this graphic, the red area outlines an atmospheric river, which is basically just an area of high moisture and high winds transporting a lot of that moisture into our area. Down here in the lower left part of that image is Hawaii, so just showing a nice tropical connection coming up through the Oregon coast and then streaming into central Idaho and western Montana. This graphic is valid about noon on Wednesday, so about midday on Tuesday, which is when I expect some of the peak moisture transport to occur. So that'll be one of our wettest periods. Looking at the precipitation, this is just the 3-hour liquid equivalent of whether it's rain or snow. It doesn't really tell the difference. And the reason I'm looking at this is just because snow levels are going to be changing a lot, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. But snow levels are going to be changing a lot throughout the atmospheric river event on Tuesday and Wednesday. So starting out with Monday, just a little bit of precip in the area, and then moving quickly into Tuesday. Tuesday morning, we can see it moving in, and then as we get into 11 a.m. into the afternoon hours, expect some of the heaviest precipitation in central Idaho. And then Tuesday night, things taper off a little bit maybe, and then we have another surge that will come in and affect central Idaho and, of course, northwest Montana on Wednesday morning. And then things will taper off pretty quick on Wednesday. So another perspective on that is to look at our snow amounts. So this is, again, it's water, but it's water that's caught up in snow. So you can think of it as sort of a way of looking at our snow amount forecast. And I'll get into some better detail with the snow on our next slide here. But with this, as we go through Monday, just some light snow showers, and then in the evening, as that atmospheric river starts to move in, and then Tuesday morning we see the snow pick up quite a bit. 8 a.m. and then this is getting close to that noon period on Tuesday. And then the snow levels start to rise really quick on Tuesday afternoon. And even though we're still getting precipitation, the amount that's coming down in the snow drops off pretty quick. And even overnight, we have some precipitation. And with that secondary surge of moisture, Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, you can still see that there's not much snow with that. So what that really means is that we're going to start out with some snow Tuesday morning. That should be the period of higher impact for the road crews. It's mainly going to be a high elevation snow, which I'll talk about more in a second, but it's going to be a dense snow. It's going to be heavy and wet. So I expect that to cause a lot of slush on roadways, especially Highway 12 or maybe some of the roads up around Elk River and Greer Grade and areas like that into Idaho, and then of course the higher elevations in northwest Montana going up over Marias Pass. But heavy and wet. The other concern with that is what it might do to the snowpack for avalanches. So if you have any avalanche forecasters that you work with for your section of the roads, it'd be a good time to be in touch with them just to see how that heavy wet snow is going to affect avalanche potential in there. Looking at a little bit more detail, I'll cover some of our ranges and our confidence in the snow amounts. Like I said, the snow levels will be rising pretty quick through the day on Tuesday, which means most of our impacts will be higher elevations. So this graphic is expected snowfall from the Missoula office. It covers about a 36-hour period starting Tuesday morning and going into Wednesday evening. And with that, we can see mainly it's going to be high elevations that are affected. Not expected really much of any impact down at the lower elevations of Idaho, like Orofino, Grangeville, even Pierce. We're expecting no snow accumulation there. And then in the valleys of western Montana, maybe a little bit as it starts off, but throughout the day Tuesday, that should melt off pretty quick, and I think will be a minimal impact in those valleys. Even in northwest Montana, which is one of the areas where it's going to get hit harder by that atmospheric river, the snow levels should be so high that minimal impacts down the lower elevation roads. It's going to be as you get up into the higher country, maybe some of those county roads and things like that, they're going to pick up some more of the heavy wet snow in those areas. And again, this is our expected snowfall. And I'll just do a quick run through on some of the passes. Expecting in 36 hours about 18 inches up at Lookout Pass. 8 to 12 inches roughly at Lolo Pass, and about 8 inches around Lost Trail Pass. Of course, any back roads that head up into the higher elevations, snow levels are going to be rising up through 5,000, 5,500 feet, maybe peaking out around 6,000 feet in central Idaho with this by the time we get to Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. So quite a lot of variation throughout the storm. So that's what we expect. Sort of a low end if we have underestimated how high the snow levels are going to get, or we're just off a little bit on our timing. Very unlikely that it'll go this low, but a low end event would have 9 inches at Lookout Pass in that same period. Maybe 2 to 4 inches up at Lolo, and about 5 inches at Lost Trail Pass. So that's a low end estimate in that 36-hour period. This, of course, would be better for a lot of the valleys because in that scenario there would really be no snow down there. So that's the low end. Now, if we've gone the other direction and actually overestimated how high in the timing and snow levels go, this is the really high end forecast, and it goes for 21 inches at Lookout Pass, up around 18 inches or more at Lolo, and about 16 at Lost Trail. The most significant thing about this is it shows significant snow reaching the lower elevations. Just with this type of pattern, this is very unlikely to happen in terms of the lower elevations. I would be very surprised to see 3 inches show up in Orofino or 2 inches to show up in Grangeville with this. It's so warm. Again, I think it's going to be a very minimal impact at the lower elevations, but again, that kind of gives you a broad range. We do have pretty high confidence on the actual amount of liquid that we're expecting. The uncertainty really comes from where the snow level is going to be and the timing of the moisture with that snow level. So again, I'll just kind of wrap this up and bring it back around to our expected impacts from snow in that 36-hour window. Nothing down in the valleys of Idaho, maybe just a little bit on the ground in Missoula, Bitterroot Valley areas, and then for the most part, nothing on the ground on your main travel corridors in northwest Montana. The exceptions are going to be the passes, which are going to get a lot of heavy, wet, slushy type of snow. Most of that coming on Tuesday. And then for that Friday period that I mentioned, mainly in Montana, not much snow expected with that, just a few inches, 2 to 3 inches in most areas, but just kind of highlighting that because there's big potential for it to cool down quickly after that. So anything that does get on the road and gets wet could freeze. And also looking at some wind to go with it as well, which our snowpack, any snowpack we have on the ground at that point should be pretty dense and not blowing around. But any showers that we get behind that cold front could cause some low visibility and blowing and drifting issues with maybe 20-mile-an-hour winds up in the Mission Valley. And then, of course, as we get into some of the higher country in southwest Montana, we typically get some higher winds in there. Very low confidence on the impact of that system. Just kind of wanted to bring it to your attention. There was some potential there. And I'll go back to the matrix to wrap it up, just to say to highlight our Tuesday, Wednesday time period is our time period of highest confidence and impacts for the high elevations. And say that we'll have another briefing on Thursday, December 20th that we'll post up on YouTube. But in the meantime, if you've got any questions or concerns, please give us a call. 406-329-4840 is our phone number, and we'd be happy to help. Thank you.